A friendly visit. The docking clamps hissed and groaned as the Terran diplomatic vessel settled onto the landing bay of the Taverness Wrath, the Galactic Empire's most formidable command ship. It was a colossal obsidian leviathan, bristling with weapons, built not for elegance but intimidation. No one came here unless summoned, or doomed. Yet Ambassador Marcus Hale walked down the ramp like he was stepping into a hotel lobby. He wore a crisp charcoal suit, no visible armor, no entourage, no bodyguards. Just a briefcase in his right hand and a relaxed, almost amused smile on his face. The receiving party stood stiffly. Commander Sylvek, a four-armed Draxan with an angled exoskeletal frame, approached with practiced disinterest. He gestured sharply. "You are late, human." "I'm right on time," Hale replied casually. "Your ship's orbit drifted 3 degrees in the last hour. Your navigation AI needs an update." Sylvek narrowed his eyes, but said nothing. He turned and began walking. Hale followed, admiring the interior. Gothic arches of alloyed bone metal, banners soaked in centuries of conquest, and guards who watched him like hungry wolves. They led him to the central negotiation chamber, a high-vaulted hall with cold, glassy floors and a throne-like seat where Grand Strategist Varnak awaited. The reptilian overlord was massive, 8 feet tall, scaled in emerald and obsidian armor, eyes like twin dying suns. His claws drummed the armrests slowly. "Ambassador Hale," Varnak said, voice like gravel dragged across metal. "Earth sends a single diplomat for such an important treaty. Bold or foolish? Why not both?" Hale sat without being invited. "After all, you requested this meeting." There was a faint chuckle among the guards. Varnak's smile didn't reach his eyes. "We were curious," he said. "Humanity has risen fast. Too fast. A minor species, barely a galactic blink old. And yet, your influence grows." Hale opened his briefcase and removed a holopad. "We prefer cooperation, trade, mutual progress. But your military has doubled in size, tripled in silence." Hale tilted his head. "Your empire's fleet increased by 20% last cycle. We didn't panic. You should have." Silence. The tension was suffocating, but not for Hale. He leaned back, crossed one leg over the other, and smiled like he was discussing dinner reservations. "Fear is an old tactic, strategist. So is showing your teeth before you bite." Varnak studied him. Then, with a wave of a claw, ended the meeting. "Tonight, we honor you. A private dinner, just you and me," he said. "For diplomacy." Hale nodded. "Of course. Nothing says diplomacy like poison and a knife." Sylvek visibly stiffened. Varnak froze for half a second, just half. Hale met his gaze coolly. "I'll be there," he added. "Looking forward to it." As the human walked out, Sylvek leaned in. "Shall I proceed?" Varnak's voice was low. "Yes. Make it clean. Quick. Let this be a message." Back in his quarters, Hale scanned the room in silence. Listening devices, nanosurveillance webs, subdermal monitoring fields. He smiled. Cute. He sat cross-legged on the floor, tapped the side of his briefcase. It blinked once, then vanished from visual range, engaging cloaking and jamming protocols. A screen appeared in front of him, unseen by the room's sensors. Hale's expression sharpened. Initiate watchdog sequence. Passive mode. Neural link authorization. Hale, Omega-7. Authorization confirmed. System sync, 97%. Countermeasure grid online. He leaned back on the bed, eyes closed, breathing steady. Let them come. He wasn't just a diplomat. He was the diplomat they send when the outcome is already decided. And the Empire was about to learn why. The trap is set. The dining hall was opulent. High-vaulted ceilings, columns carved with scenes of conquest, and a massive crystalline table laden with alien delicacies most humans would never touch. A string quartet of enslaved Grellians played dissonant harmonies that echoed off the cold stone. Ambassador Marcus Hale arrived precisely on time, again with no escort, still wearing the same calm, sharp suit. The only thing different was the slight gleam in his eye. Ambassador, Grand Strategist Varnak, greeted from the head of the table, rising with open arms. Your presence honors us. I try, Hale replied as he took a seat across from the towering alien. The chair adjusted to his physiology with a faint hum. And I must say, your hospitality has exceeded expectations. Varnak chuckled, the sound more hiss than humor. We aim to please, or at least surprise. Servants poured wines that glowed faintly. Hale didn't touch his glass. Instead, he watched Varnak's eyes, reading him like a briefing file. Around the room, guards shifted into position. Pressure points. Firing angles. The musicians subtly left. The exit sealed just as discreetly. All rehearsed. All predictable. You know, Hale said casually, slicing into a piece of shimmering meat. Earth's first interstellar contact involved a species that tried to eat us. Didn't end well for them. Yes, Varnak said, eyes glinting. The Draxery. We absorbed their remnants. Hale nodded. After we wiped out 90% of them. Varnak smirked. And yet you sit here. Alone. Vulnerable. Do I? The lights dimmed just slightly. On cue. Varnak raised a claw. Guards took one step forward. Hale placed his fork down gently. Then everything happened at once. A sudden pulse rippled through the air, inaudible to most species but very real. The guard staggered. The lights flickered. Varnak blinked, confused. Hale stood. Let me guess, he said, walking slowly around the table. Poison wine. Stun field in the walls. Pressure-triggered neurotoxins in the seat padding. And your private guards standing by to sweep in the moment I collapsed. Varnak growled. Ow! Predictable. A panel burst open. 3 of Varnak's elite assassins lunged in and dropped immediately, choking and twitching. The air had changed. Their lungs burned. Neural disruptors embedded in the chandeliers, disguised as decoration, had just activated. Varnak roared, slamming his clawed fist onto a panel. Activate failsafe. Nothing happened. No signals getting through, Hale said calmly, tapping the side of his neck. A soft blue glow responded. This ship's control grid is now running on my thread. A hidden door opened, and Commander Sylvek stumbled in, flanked by 2 Terran operatives in adaptive camouflage. His lower arms were bound. His face, shock and disbelief. Impossible, Sylvek rasped. This ship is a fortress. Was, Hale corrected. He turned to Varnak. You really think we'd send a mere diplomat to negotiate with an empire known for betrayal, suppression, and centuries of genocide? Please. You're not a diplomat, Varnak hissed. No, Hale said softly. I'm Omega-7. Black file designation. Not listed. Not even rumored. Varnak surged forward, rage and disbelief fueling his strength, but halted as the floor beneath him shimmered with an active containment field. A perfect prison. You try to send a message, Hale said, voice low, steady. Instead, you send a gift-wrapped warship. Sylvek thrashed. You plan this? From the beginning. Earth doesn't make empty gestures. We anticipated this move 5 steps ahead. Honestly, I was hoping you'd be smarter. This entire encounter? A test. He turned and walked toward the window, where the stars shimmered in cold indifference. Then, out of nowhere, a shadow slid across the starscape. A ship uncloaked, massive, angular, and utterly silent. The Terran Black Ops vessel Sparrowhawk, built without a single emission leak, running quantum displacement shielding. It hovered directly outside the dining hall's glass wall, a quiet symbol of absolute dominance. Varnak fell silent. His breath grew ragged. We're not here to conquer you, Hale said, now facing him fully. We're here to teach you what a real civilization does when provoked. The guards who once surrounded Hale were now on their knees, disarmed, disoriented. The musicians? Human operatives in disguise. The dinner? A stage. This wasn't a negotiation. It was a hostile takeover, without a single weapon drawn in anger. You still have a choice, strategist, Hale said. One that will determine whether your empire survives the next decade. Sylvek blinked, trembling. What choice? Hale turned to him, smiled. Obedience. Who he was when. The Tveraness wrath was silent now. No alarms blared. No footsteps echoed. The Empire's flagship, once the pride of 1,000 conquests, hovered in paralysis above a neutral planet, shackled not by force, but by the presence of one human. Ambassador Marcus Hale stood alone in the command deck. Every officer was either unconscious, restrained, or watching him in terrified awe. The ship's main AI core flickered with unfamiliar code, its interface now reading in Terran glyphs. System override, Terran Protocol Omega, 7 current authority. Hale, Marcus, clearance level black. Behind him, Grand Strategist Varnak sat his own command chair, bound, humbled, and breathing heavily through gritted fangs. Beside him, Commander Sylvek sat pale and broken, his confidence shattered by the quiet efficiency of Hale's takedown. "You're not just a spy," Varnak muttered. "Not a soldier. What are you?" Hale turned slowly. "I'm the answer to a question your empire never thought to ask." He stepped closer, pausing just before the throne. "You rule through fear, through overwhelming shows of strength. You assumed we were the same, that Earth's diplomats were soft, peace-seeking, naive." He leaned in. "Wrong species." He tapped his wrist. The command deck darkened, and then a projection filled the room. Fragments of Hale's file. Classified dossiers. Redacted missions. Conflicts on dead moons. Negotiations conducted under fire. Treaties signed at gunpoint. Executions disguised as peace talks. Sylvek's breath caught. "You're that operative," he whispered. "The one who brokered the Jovian Accord by disabling their entire fleet mid-signature." "Correct." Hale walked to the central display, activating a star map of the galactic region. "We knew you'd try something," he said. "We even wanted you to. Because this," he gestured to the map, "was the final piece." Varnak narrowed his eyes. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Earth is done hiding," Hale replied. "We've been building alliances in the shadows. Species you've oppressed. Systems you've taxed to ruin. They've all been waiting for a sign." On cue, the map lit up with glowing dots. Rebel factions, resistant colonies, and independent systems. All linked now. All watching. All waiting. The moment the ship's systems fell under my control, every one of them received the signal. The Galactic Empire's flagship, taken. By one man. Varnak roared. "You think this wins the galaxy?" "No," Hale said. "This starts a conversation. One where you're no longer holding the biggest stick." He turned his gaze to the bridge's panoramic view of space. "I came here with words. You answered with violence. And yet, here we are. You're alive. Your ship's intact. Your people mostly unharmed." Varnak's voice was bitter. "You're bluffing. You don't have the strength to hold this." "You're confusing strength with noise," Hale said. "We don't scream power. We whisper control." He stepped back. "Let me be clear. We don't want war. But we will end yours." Sylvek whispered. "How many more like you?" Hale looked at him and said nothing. The silence was the answer. Outside, the Sparrowhawk adjusted its position, locking tractor beams around the Wrath's engines. Not as a threat, but a symbol. The message was simple. You're no longer in charge here. Back on the deck, Hale sat in Varnak's chair. "Let's discuss terms," he said. "Because what comes next, you're going to want to say in." Hours later, a secure line opened, broadcasting from the Wrath to the Imperial core planets. Hale appeared on every screen. Calm, unarmed, alive. "This is Marcus Hale of Earth. The Galactic Empire attempted to eliminate a human diplomat today. They failed, not just because I survived, but because in doing so, they exposed themselves." He paused. The camera widened to show Varnak, bound but alive. "We offer peace. Even now, even after this. But make no mistake, should you choose war, Earth will not be the battlefield." He leaned forward. "You will be." Then the screen went black. Later, as the command deck cleared and Terran agents secured the ship, Sylvek approached Hale, voice still shaky. "Why spare him?" he asked, nodding toward the defeated strategist. "Why not destroy this ship? Prove your strength." Hale didn't look up. "Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destruction. It's in letting your enemy live long enough to serve you." Terms of surrender. The Imperial Senate was in chaos. Dozens of species shouted over one another, their translators struggling to keep up. Holograms of burning ships and intercepted transmissions floated above the central dais. Evidence of rebellion, of fear, and most damning of all, humiliation. At the center, seated calmly, was Grand Strategist Varnak. Or rather, what was left of him. He was no longer dressed in battle armor, but in neutral robes of diplomatic observance. His posture was subdued, his gaze empty. He bore no visible chains, but everyone in that hall knew he was no longer free. And beside him, standing tall, clean-suited, and utterly relaxed, was Ambassador Marcus Hale. A single human. One. The silence in the chamber came only when he raised his hand. "Thank you for your attention," Hale said, his voice measured. "I'm here to present Earth's terms." A murmur rippled across the hall. One of the senators, a proud Vorkathi with 6 eyes and 4 tusks, barked, "You have no authority to dictate to the Empire." Hale glanced toward Varnak, who stood slowly, wordlessly, and knelt. The chamber erupted. "Silence," Hale said, not raising his voice, but the room obeyed. "Let's be clear. Earth does not seek conquest. We don't want your planets, your riches, or your pride. We only want stability and accountability." He pressed a button on his wrist, and holographic files beamed into the air, dossiers on war crimes, genocides, economic plundering, covert assassinations, each tied to names in that very room. "These records will go public unless the following terms are accepted within 48 hours. He listed them with chilling clarity. Immediate dismantling of forced labor systems, full withdrawal from neutral systems and reparation payments to devastated worlds. Imperial military reduced to 1/3 of current size. A shared galactic council, where every species has a vote, including Earth, and Varnak remains as a symbolic leader. Under supervision, outrage erupted again, but Hale was already walking away. "You have 48 hours. After that, we stop being nice." On the Sparrowhawk, Hale sat in a quiet observation chamber, sipping Terran coffee. The stars blinked peacefully beyond the glass. Agent Kira Lin, one of his most trusted operatives, joined him. "You think they'll agree?" she asked. "They already have," he said. "They just haven't realized it yet." She smirked. "And if they don't," Hale sipped, "then we show them what the last 500 years of human conflict taught us." A pause. "Do you regret it?" Kira asked. "Letting him live?" Hale stared out the stars. "No, because if the Empire collapses overnight, the vacuum would be worse. But if it bends slowly, it breaks on our terms." He stood, "And we'll be there to pick up the pieces." 48 hours later, the message went out. The Empire accepts Earth's terms. Not with grace, not with celebration, but with understanding. The galaxy had changed. Forever.